Okay, so we're going to continue on with elimination, but this time instead of just changing the sign, we actually have to change the coefficient. So let's look at an example of what that means. So if I look in front of x, I have a 2 and a 4. If I look in front of y, I have a 3 and I have a 1. So I need to eliminate one of the variables. So what I'm looking for is the same number in front of the same variable. So if I look in front of x, I could make both of them a 4 and then eliminate it. If I look at the y, I could make both of them a 3, because that's the same multiple, and eliminate it. But to do that, I now have to do something to equation 1, and I have to do something to equation 2. So what I want to do, I'm going to actually go and put a 4 in front of both equations 1 and 2. But I have to also remember that one has to be positive and one has to be negative. So if I look, this one is already positive. So I need this one to be negative. So to get to 4, I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 2. But then because I need it to be negative as well, I'm going to multiply this equation by minus 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, so 2x times minus 2 is minus 4x. 3y times minus 2 is minus 6y. And 17 times minus 2, I can grab my calculator, and I can say 17 times minus 2, and I get minus 34. So I'm going to write minus 34 down. And then I don't need to change the second equation, so I'm going to leave it exactly as it is, and then I'm going to draw a line under it. So now I can add both the equations because they both have the same number in front of them. This one's negative and this one's positive. So this will eliminate the x's because minus 4 plus 4 is 0. Now I have minus 6 plus 1y, which will give me minus 5y. And then I have minus 34, and I'm going to add 9, gives me minus 25. So then I can divide both sides by minus 5, and y is equal to 5. Now I want to be able to solve for x. So I have y is equal to 5, and same thing as we've done for the last couple of days now, is we can go back and plug it in either into equation 1 or equation 2. I'm going to pick equation 2 just because the numbers are a little smaller. So I have 4x plus y equals 9. So I have 4x plus 5 equals 9. And now what I can do is I can subtract 5 from both sides. So I'm going to subtract 5 from this side and 5 from this side. So this gives me 4x is equal to 4. I can divide both sides by 4, and x is equal to 1. So therefore, the POI is 1, 5. Okay, let's move on to the back side of the sheet. Okay, and let's look at question B. So if I look, I have an x and a 2, so I can make both of them a 2. I have a 3 and a 4 here, and the multiple of both of those would be 12. So I would have to multiply this one by 4 and this one by 3 to make that work. Let's go for the easy option and just multiply this one by 2. When I do that though, I have to look, would I have the same sign or different sign? So I need them to have different signs. So if I want to multiply this one by 2, I'm going to have to multiply it by minus 2 because this one already is positive 2. So I'm going to times this one by minus 2. Now I have minus 2x. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6y. And 9 times minus 2 is minus 18. Now I can write 2x plus 4y is equal to 14 underneath. I don't change anything on that equation. And I can draw a line underneath them and add them. If I look now, I'll have minus 2x plus 2x, which will give me 0. And then I will have minus 6y plus 4y. This will give me minus 2y equals, and now I have minus 18 plus 14. So now I will have equals minus 4. I'm going to divide both sides by minus 2, and I have y is equal to 2. Again, I have the choice of whether I want to plug that into equation 1 or into equation 2. I think I'm going to pick equation 1 just because it looks a little easier. So I'm going to write x plus 3y is equal to 9. Now I'm going to take y is equal to 2 and plug it into this here. So I have x, let me just fix that. So I have x plus 3 times 2 is equal to 9. So now I have x plus 6 is equal to 9 because 3 times 2 is 6. So now I can subtract 6 from both sides and I get x is equal to 3. So I can say, therefore, the point of intersection is 3, 2. Okay, let's look at the next one. Let's look at C. So in this case, I can put the same number in front of x. So I would want 10 in front of x because that's a multiple of both 2 and 5. Or I can put 3 in front of y. There's a 3 here and this has a 1. So this is already a 3. And I would only need to multiply this by 3 to make that work. So that's probably a little bit easier than multiplying this one by 2 and this one by 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this one by 3, and I only need to multiply it by 3 because this one's already positive and this one's already negative. So I don't need to change the signs on this one. So I'm going to multiply this second one by 3 in this case. So then that means in this one, the top equation stays the same. The bottom one now becomes minus 6x minus 3y equals to minus 12. So I took the 3 and I multiplied it by minus 2x, by minus y, and by minus 4 to get minus 6x, minus 3y, and minus 12. I'm going to draw a line underneath them and add them. So I have 5 plus minus 6x is minus x. 3 plus minus 3 will give me 0. And 13 plus minus 12 gives me 1. I can divide both sides by minus 1, and x is equal to negative 1. Now I need to take that negative 1 and plug it into equation 1 or 2. I'm probably going to pick 1. There's way less negatives, and that makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to rewrite equation 1. And in place of x, I'm now going to put brackets and put 1. 5 times minus 1 is minus 5, plus 3y is equal to 13. I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I get 3y is equal to 13 plus 5, which is 18. Now I can divide both sides by 3, and y is equal to 6. So now I have the point of intersection is minus 1 and 6.